In a quiet countryside village surrounded by rolling hills and whispering fields, lived a humble farmer named Elias Turner. He never possessed wealth, nor did he seek it. What he did have, however, was far more valuable: the respect of his neighbors. Elias was known for his honesty, his calm nature, and his unwavering sense of right and wrong. His small family survived thanks to a single cow, Grace, a gentle creature that provided milk and stability to their simple life. Not far from Elias's modest cottage stood a vast estate belonging to Reginald Hawthorne, one of the wealthiest men in the region. Hawthorne owned more land and livestock than he could ever count, yet his heart was ruled by greed. To him, power was not earned, it was taken, and anything belonging to those beneath him, in his eyes, was simply unclaimed property waiting to be acquired. One cold night, Elias awoke to an unsettling silence in his barn. When he went outside, his heart dropped. Grace was gone. No tracks, no broken fence, no signs of struggle. It was as if she had evaporated into the night. For a man whose livelihood depended on one animal, the shock was devastating. The next day, whispers spread through the village. Reginald Hawthorne had acquired a new cow overnight, one that looked suspiciously familiar. Elias, though heartbroken, approached the estate politely. "Mr. Hawthorne," he said with steady composure, "may I see the cow you recently bought?" Hawthorne smirked. "Of course, Elias. But surely you're not suggesting what I think you are." Yet when Elias laid eyes on the cow, his breath caught. It was Grace. Her coat, her gentle eyes, even the small scar on her right hind leg. There was no doubt. "That's my cow," Elias said firmly. Hawthorne's smirk widened. "If you believe that, feel free to take the matter to court. But remember, Elias, not everyone listens to the words of a poor farmer." The village gathered in the small courthouse the next morning, where Judge Alden Whitmore, known for fairness and sharp insight, presided. Elias spoke first, explaining the disappearance and his certainty that the cow in Hawthorne's possession was Grace. Hawthorne countered smoothly, claiming he bought the cow legally from a traveling trader. Judge Whitmore leaned back. "If this cow truly belongs to Elias, then she should respond to him. Bring her in." Before the tense crowd, Hawthorne attempted to milk the cow first, but the animal kicked, twisted, and refused to be touched. Laughter rippled through the villagers. When Elias approached, he gently placed his hand on her neck and whispered softly, the same way he had every morning. Instantly, the cow calmed. She allowed him to milk her effortlessly as white streams filled the pail. The evidence was undeniable. Judge Whitmore announced, "Grace belongs to Elias Turner, and Reginald Hawthorne will answer for this misconduct." Elias left the court with Grace beside him, but a knot in his chest refused to loosen. Hawthorne was not the kind of man who accepted public humiliation. Within days, strange incidents began around the village. Food storages were raided, tools stolen, property damaged. In every whispered conversation, one name surfaced: Elias Turner. Rumor had replaced truth, suspicion replaced trust. Hawthorne's men planted stories in the market, speaking just loud enough for others to overhear. Success changed him, one would say. "He walks at night now," another added. "Perhaps the farmer isn't as honest as he seems." And slowly, doubt crept into the villagers' hearts. One evening, a group of men led by Samuel Reed, a respected elder, knocked on Elias's door. "Elias," Samuel said gravely, "people saw someone who looked like you near the stolen grain. We don't want to accuse you unjustly, but we need answers." Elias shook his head in disbelief. "You've known me all my life. Would I betray this village?" But fear is a powerful poison, and the seeds Hawthorne planted had already begun to sprout. Once more, Elias found himself standing before Judge Whitmore. Hawthorne stood on the opposite side, wearing a mask of sympathy that barely hid his satisfaction. "Your Honor," Hawthorne said smoothly, "I hate to believe that Elias could be responsible, but witnesses claim they saw him near the scenes." Two men stepped forward as the witnesses. Elias looked at them carefully. They avoided his eyes. "May I ask them a question?" Elias requested. The judge nodded. "You said you saw me clearly under the moonlight. But tell me, how could that be, when last night there was no moon at all?" The courtroom fell silent. The witnesses stammered, exchanged nervous glances, then fell apart entirely. It was a trap, and Hawthorne had walked straight into it. Judge Whitmore slammed his gavel. This is deliberate defamation. An investigation will begin immediately. But Hawthorne was ready for more. Days later, the unthinkable happened. A servant from Hawthorne's estate was found dead in Elias's field. This was no simple accusation. This was murder. Hawthorne's influence ensured soldiers stormed Elias's home without hesitation. He was shackled and dragged away before he even understood what had happened. This time the accusations were severe. Judge Whitmore looked at Elias with a heavy heart. The evidence is grave. The body was found on your land. I was framed, Elias insisted. Hawthorne placed a hand dramatically on his chest. Your Honor, I beg you for justice for my loyal servant. The judge ordered a deeper investigation, but Hawthorne was already 2 steps ahead, bribing officers, planting false journals, manipulating the system. The turning point. Hawthorne arranged for his men to sneak into the prison and offer Elias a so-called escape opportunity, hoping to make him flee and seem guilty. But Elias had grown wiser. He shouted loudly enough for the guards to hear. Why are Hawthorne's men trying to help me escape? The guards stormed in and arrested the intruders. The trap had reversed. When Judge Whitmore met Elias again, the farmer presented a bold request. Search Hawthorne's estate, not the outer rooms. The study, the place he keeps locked. The judge hesitated, but agreed. In Hawthorne's study, hidden behind a shelf, officers found a letter ordering the servant to lure Elias into a setup, only for the servant to be killed afterward to eliminate loose ends. The court erupted when the evidence was revealed. During the final hearing, a hooded man entered the courtroom. I was part of Hawthorne's operations, he declared. And he ordered everything. The thefts, the lies, even the death of the servant. He produced a blood-stained cloth matching the victim's torn shirt and bearing Hawthorne's seal. The courtroom exploded into chaos. Judge Whitmore rose. Reginald Hawthorne, your corruption has poisoned this village. By the authority of the court, you are stripped of your estate, wealth, and influence. You will be exiled permanently. Hawthorne screamed in outrage, but no one listened. His power dissolved in a single moment, the same way he had tried to dissolve Elias's life. When the dust settled, Elias walked out of the courthouse into the warm glow of afternoon sun. The villagers, ashamed of doubting him, welcomed him back with open arms. But Elias didn't celebrate loudly. He understood something deeper. Justice is not guaranteed. It must be fought for, cleverly, patiently, and with unshakable resolve. Grace grazed peacefully beside him as he returned home, a symbol that truth, even when buried, eventually finds its way back. And through the village, the tale of Elias Turner, the quiet farmer who outsmarted the powerful tyrant without lifting a sword, would be told for generations. With your support, we continue. Click subscribe and let the next story be yours.